Something's come up. Can I leave him with you for a bit? You are gonna stay here. So I want you to be respectful and mind your manners. You know what I'm talking about. Thanks. I'll be back for him.
Is it just me, or does the Mandalorian never have a problem finding childcare? Recorded in the Rob Christensen Radio Network socially distant studios, it's Cinema Sidebar with Jim and Rob. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Cinema Sidebar with Jim and Rob. This is going to be a show, a place where Jim and I can kind of talk about some of the news and share our views of what's going on film that doesn't fit in a Jim Rob overanalyze movies live stream. So, think a little bit of news, probably a lot of hot takes, and perhaps a couple of film recommendations. With that out of the way, before I actually get into it, let me, before you actually see anything, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to ringy-ding that bell. Anyway, first of all, a little bit of news. Wonder Woman 1984, a film I've really been looking forward to that kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. It looks like the DCEU and Warner Brothers have decided, screw it. It's going out December 25th in theaters, whichever theaters are actually still open come December 25th. And at least in the United States on live streaming. Whoops, not that one. How can you tell I'm still new at this? And on HBO Max of all things. So it's going to go out in the same day. You can either go to the theater on Christmas Day or stay in the comfort of your home and watch it on HBO Max, but only in the United States. I, as a Canadian, my nose was a little out of joint. So with that, myself and a fellow YouTuber named Cody from the Brock Up Side, we actually did a kind of a show where we overanalyzed this one news story. There'll be a link. No, I'll put a card right up here and, of course, in the description, so where you can catch that show. What else? Probably the biggest news as far as like film lovers go, or at least the biggest news to cheap film lovers like myself and Jim, was that Netflix, they're raising the prices again. You know, it's another $1. Everything goes up a little higher, and that'll be kind of the big thing that we're going to talk about. There was another story, I guess Gotham PD had actually, and the show hasn't even come out yet. They had found a showrunner in Terrence Winter. Months later, it's like, creative differences. And you know what? I'll put a link in the description to the news story, but it was really when I heard about it in the John Campea show, and I thought I'd maybe weigh in on the controversy. And that, I think, is about it for notes. Now we're going to bring on my co-host with the most, Mr. Jim Chaboyko. And Jim, why don't you tell us about the films we should have on our radar?
Films you should have on your radar. They're all coming out, of course, in 2021, it appears. Two that I'm most looking forward to, Judas and the Black Messiah, the story of Fred Hampton, one of the early Black Panthers who is, it's not a spoiler zone yet, but you can find out when you watch it sometime next year. And the other one that I'm really looking forward to is The French Dispatch, which is Wes Anderson's newest, with a movie poster that looks suspiciously like a Hergé Tintin comic, but I love it, and I'm a Wes Anderson
perhaps
guy.
With less racism.
Yes, yeah. The it apparently the first one, Judas and the Black Messiah, has a release date of sometime in 2021 USA. The French Dispatch is being released in Slovakia in about 2 months' time, and then it says Cannes Film Festival. Cannes Film Festival.
Okay.
Cannes Film Festival. So I guess
In
it's
Con.
post festival season we'll be able to see it. But
Oh, fantastic.
yeah, so those are two of mine, and they should be two of yours.
That sounds pretty cool. Listen, here we're getting a little fancier now. Not only do we have a background, Jim, we have an overlay, so we look a little slicker.
Nice.
All right. Well, with that done, I'm one more time. I am going to ask you, everybody out there, for a like and a subscription, and a bell.
My favorite thing.
And of course, I also want to encourage everyone as we move forward with this. Please, if you think there's something that should be on our radar, or you think there's a story that would have been more you would like us to cover, or you don't agree with our take on a story, comment down below. So. Yeah, let's go to Jim. My over the top thumbnail. Yeah, yet another price increase from Netflix. If you just the standard version, so it's 2 devices at once, HD, no 4K. You've got to you're ponying up now $15 a month, like I got my notice, and if you want 4K, and so many televisions out there now are 4K, it's like $19 a month. We're getting into, I mean, for crying out loud, we're getting into what's the word I'm looking for, HBO territory, Crave territory. I don't know. What do you think? What was your first reaction when you learned they wanted yet more money?
Well, it seems it's a couple things. It's funny to me that it often makes the news. Like they'll something's happening in the States, natural disaster over here, and Netflix is raising their price. Usually this is a top of the hour CBC newscast thing, and it's going up $1. For me, I mean, I'm
That's
not
an interesting point. Yeah,
I'm not really. It doesn't affect me that much, but I know there's a lot of people out there, and in this this COVID age, there's going to be a lot of people especially down in the States, that do not have a lot of disposable income in the next coming few months. So I don't know. I wonder sort of how it'll affect things. There's been jokes for years. There was jokes on Community about Abed and Troy stealing Jeff Winger's Netflix password,
using his code
when it was cheap, like when it was under $10. So
yeah,
I sort of wonder about that. Before this, I did take a look at my credit card bill, and I'm paying $8.95 for Amazon, and I know there's differences. And as of
this is all Canadian dollars, folks.
Yes, sorry. And as of last month, I was still paying $13.99 for Netflix. So that's quite. And then $20. I actually made a list. $20 for HBO/Crave, which is our Canadian HBO opportunity. And then, and this is just me, I give money to PBS every year because I watch it and I like it, and it's kind of threatened with the climate down there. So there's I'm paying for my certainly paying for my streaming, but then you have other options too that are free. But so there's a kind of a weird scale. You can make arguments for and against. I know Rob and I were sort of talking about it before. Netflix maybe has some more original programming than Amazon, say, but Amazon has some weird deep cuts. I've been watching a lot of Australian true crime for some reason. Anyway, so I mean, it seems they're raising the price a lot these days, but that I'm not sure if that's perception or reality.
I'm, you can go, yeah, I think maybe you can have your nose out of joint. That said, I was looking it up today. My first reaction is, for crying out loud, am I getting that value?
Mm-hmm.
That said, so I was looking it up, and right now they're on track to spend $17 billion a year on production, just on content, like whether it's licensing or creating, versus Amazon Prime's about $6 billion. Compare this to Disney, and I don't know this for a fact, but the impression I got from the piece was they're spending that in all their many avenues. It's not just Disney brand, but Fox, and about $27 billion a year on production, on content. And apparently by, I want to say 2026, Netflix is hoping to be spending like $28 billion a year on content. So even just comparing Netflix now to Amazon Prime, you're getting 3 times as much content. And now, mind you, Amazon also gets, you get free delivery too, but it seems like it's almost, we can talk about Prime in another show. Don't want to get too sidebarred. But so you could say, just looking at that, it's not a bad deal. I think it's more the arbitrariness, and it's like, are we getting that value? I'm still complaining about how much, let's say it didn't cost Netflix, how much Netflix overpaid with our membership dollars for the old guard.
The old guard, 70 million. The restless sleep, 70 million.
I think we should at least get a quarter. Instead of $14.99, it should go down to $14.74. Just say, hey, here's our kickback for the money we wasted on the old guard.
Charlize.
You know what? Hey, Charlize is able to negotiate that. Good on her. I still think somebody's owed $50 million on that. That said, it's almost like these things are becoming, like you were talking about down in the States, Jim, they're almost a utility, and I mean, how many, heck, I have not on my television, I'm not sure I could get in. I don't know if I'd need rabbit ears. I don't know if I could dial in an over-the-air.
No.
I'm not sure I could. Although maybe there is a digital receiver, like all the licensed stations in Canada have been sending out digital signal for years. So, but I mean, down in the States, it's a little different where, heck, I think most Americans still get most of their content from the big 3 and other broadcasters that are actually broadcasting. So, but I do, it's almost like a utility, and it's like, well, here, we're raising the prices. Can you show me what I'm getting for that price increase? It's like, I think, there's a couple arguments. I still think there's plenty on Netflix to watch. I think it's something that people, and they change every month. I think the market's gotten a lot more competitive. I remember the first of the month with Netflix, say 5 years ago, the first day of the month, they'd have all these great new releases. When we were paying $7.99.
Yeah, and that's a little bit less so now. So it's almost kind of random. Then you take a look at what's available on HBO Crave in Canada. That seems a bit random as well. My mom was one who said, I think I've watched everything. I don't think it's so hot, but I still haven't caught up with half the things that I could catch up with on Netflix. I really needed to take a month off work and just watch television solidly, and also declutter the basement, but that's another story.
Well, maybe maybe there's something you and I can do, and maybe we can involve anyone watching this. Comment down below if you think we should explore this further. I wonder if it's how can you value what you're spending on streaming services? I'm in a very similar boat. It's Prime, it's Netflix, it's Crave, it's I got suckered into Curiosity Stream. Although at least that's a 1 year. Here's $20 US, but still, and it's for the year. But also, what else? Crave, Disney,
the free ones.
Disney
the free
Plus.
ones are Gem, Canopy. Gem, for those who aren't in Canada, is the CBC streaming services. There's Canopy. There's Hoopla.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just talking about what I pay for.
Like, what you pay for?
Yeah. Like, well, in Crave and Netflix, because I do the HD things, going up to $14.99. So that'll be almost $40 a month. It's like a cable bill. They're almost $40 a month in those two streaming services. Add another $17 for, well, I think it'd be $16 for Disney Plus and YouTube Premium. In part because it's a shakedown fee to get the music service and get rid of commercials, because otherwise you'd just be overwhelmed on YouTube with commercials. But so I'm probably like around $60 in just streaming services, and then you add that. So, at times it's like just okay, am I getting value? But sorry, I got way off track there. I'm wondering, would it be worth it? Maybe one of these random months, you and I, we track the time we actually spend on like watching a service.
Do a diary, a streaming diary.
A streaming diary. I'm serious. Yeah. Do a streaming diary. And then actually at the end of every month, and maybe we do it for a few months, where we actually say, you know what? I know I'm only... I actually only watched this thing for like 2 shows. It's 3 hours of all the time I spend on streaming services. That might be, it'd be an interesting number. And to see, it's like, okay, what is it actually, how much are we spending per streaming hour? And is that worth it?
Yes. Yeah.
I could actually set up like a Google form. Well, listen, you know what? I'm getting kind of excited about this. But you want to make it easy. You want to make it easy, right? You want to make it easy. You want to make it also where we can all combine. But you know what? I'm putting that out there, folks. Comment down below if you want to participate in this. I think it's something Jim and I might actually do.
This is happening spontaneously.
I literally pulled it out of my you-know-what. Right now. Okay. But I think that's what the benefit of talking about it does. Is it worth it? Let's find out. How much are we spending per hour? And then there's still a subjective call. Like, I got to admit, I'm so into The Mandalorian right now, notwithstanding the ease of which he finds childcare. And that's literally, Jim, I may do a whole thing next Friday, Film 5-ish. The whole series is forever. When he needs to get rid of that kid, it's like, hey, would you mind taking my kid? Always a woman. And they're always, yeah, sure. Only one notable exception, which will totally make sense. Anyway, I think Disney Plus, that's about all I pay for it for. It is nice when I'm editorializing on MCU stuff, but I can't say I've watched enough old Simpsons, like, I'm basically paying $9 to watch one TV show a month.
I hear Song of the South is a great movie. Kidding.
Well, let me ask you, but you know what? Let me ask you that. What is there any of the streaming services you're watching, Jim, where you're like kind of, I only watch the only reason the streaming services I've got the app or it's on my smart TV is because of that show.
Yeah. Not particular. I like to be sort of, it's the one reason we don't cancel Shaw, because I get our normal Canadian cable package, which is hugely expensive. When you break it down, my Shaw bill, Shaw is one of the big cable providers in Canada, for those of you who don't know. And it's lower 4 figures a year to, and that's including internet and phone. but it's not cheap. And I often wonder what it would be like to cut the cord. I mean, think I'm paying for the Golf Channel, maybe not anymore. Thank God I don't get Fox, because I wouldn't watch it. But
Well,
this guy wouldn't let me. But you know, having said that, I would be afraid if I missed something. If it's I don't know, Toshiro Mifune Day on Turner Classic Movies, you know, I would like to see that.
Yeah.
So I'd be nervous of cutting that particular thing. I'm not also good at, you know, picking the specific channels. So, but it is the whole thing together. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah. Well, and even if you cut, like, I mean, I've cut the cord.
Yeah.
And let's can you see that eye roll, Jim? There we go. Yeah, it's still Shaw cable coming in the door. And they only cut you a deal on the cable if you're getting something else. So I'm probably paying quite the premium. Another thing we can add into our comparison if we do that. You know, we'll think about the new year and we'll do that experiment. Yeah. December might not be a good month to start. Okay, listen, couple other we're gonna get into final thoughts, and I know, Jim, you wanted to bring kind of a tendential story, but that when you're researching the price thing, and then I want to go on a bit of a rant, but before I do that, yes, one more time, folks, you agree with our hot take? If you think I'm full of it, Jim's full of it, or we're just both full of it, please comment down below. Things you think we should be covering, movies you think should be on our radar. We've told you the ones Jim thinks should be on your radar, and I usually go along with him on that kind of thing. So I'm just shrugging and saying, I don't know what Jim said. Yeah, please comment down below. And with that said, yes, Jim, what were you'd mentioned another Netflix story that kind of caught your eye.
In France, they're looking at flirting with something that they call the linear model, which I guess is not necessarily binge anytime or watch anytime you want, but it would be a grid style programming that would refresh every several days on a 24-hour grid, and they would give you the programming guide to show you what's coming up. So that's maybe something a little bit like Crave HBO in Canada, where they have 4 channels on my TV that you can watch, and they have a set programming day, or you could specifically choose any one of those and watch them when you want. So that's just sort of an interesting one to keep your eye on. I'm interested in the fact they experiment with something in certain countries and not others, but that's it's all speculative at this point. But I'll be keeping an eye on it in the coming months.
What I'm also thinking then, Jim, is that a great, should we be looking for someone, French, who can kind of comment on the cultural aspect of that? There was, I gotta admit, when I first, I kind of blew by it once myself, and my initial reaction is, oh, that'll be them paying off French bureaucrats, and I don't mean in a bribe way. I mean, France is so, France is regulated. Anyone who whines about our bureaucracy, go move to France. Heck, go to move to anywhere in Europe, and then you'll know, oh, there's different levels of bureaucratic control there. And it's something, I'm not saying that you can find any French person and say, oh, I can't stand the fonctionnaires, the bureaucrats. At the same time, they're also the first to literally take to the streets when one of their things that they're passionate about is not being regulated. Like it's a culture that's very comfortable with government regulation. And there was my initial reaction, honestly, was their Netflix wants to do something in France, probably something around exhibition, and this is like a trade.
Myself.
Yeah, something, or it could also be just the way you pay for things, it could be very much a cultural thing where the French are like very, no, I'd rather just have a channel and let someone else curate my choices, so you know what, so yeah, folks, if you think that's something that's worth a deeper dive on Cinema Sidebar, please comment down below. Myself, Jim, I do have a so as I'd said before, one of the news stories, the Batman spin-off series, this Terrence Winter guy, I did not, it wasn't like I was perusing Variety and I found the story, but here is the story on Variety, and I'll make sure it's linked in the description below. What I found fascinating about this story, Jim, was actually listening to about when I first heard about it was on the John Campea show. And I've referred to them before, and I really like his show, and I like, the way he, it's what we're doing here, but 2 hours every day. So every story's covered. What I didn't agree with, like he went on kind of a rant about how, and I'll put a link to that show in the description, that specific segment of his show. He went on a rant, Jim, about losing a showrunner and how do you lose a showrunner so early? The thing hasn't even gone to camera yet. And he was like, I get that, hey, after a couple of years you run into creative differences, et cetera, et cetera. And all I can think is like, no, I think it's the exact opposite. This is when you run into creative differences. Everyone's all fun at when they're cutting checks, but then as they start to develop the show, the showrunner's like, I want to go in this direction. And the studio's like, yeah, that's too expensive, or it's not what we thought, or they've signed on a star. This is when it can go sideways. So I'm basically saying I think Campea, who's been doing this way longer than I have, but that's the great thing about the internet.
You can still disagree.
Everyone gets to disagree. And if your production values are okay, it looks like you know what you're talking about. But what did you, any quick hot take before we wrap it up here?
There was Frank Darabont with the Walking Dead. There is a history of creative differences before something really gets going. The one that I think of, maybe not so much a creative difference, but the sort of painful ripping off the Band-Aid, is the young actor that was supposed to play Aragorn first. That's not the same thing, I realize, but it's something as dramatic where you just say, this isn't working, we got to deal with this now. I think that's a little bit of a different situation, but it's the same height, getting rid of a star / getting rid of a showrunner before things really get going. Maybe it's a good sign you are aware that something isn't connecting, something's not working.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree with you more, Jim. This is the point when you can have these, and the cost. I mean, this guy's this guy. No, that guy. Where am I pointing? Where am I looking? This guy it's not like he's going to be, out in the street. This was his first big break. He's got a huge resume, and who knows, it may literally have been, oh, I got a better gig down the street. I mean, I don't agree with you creatively, but you're absolutely right. And there's no cost right now. Like you said, nothing's really rolling. They'll cut him a check, and that'll be about it. Hire someone new, someone more in sync, and we'll see how it plays out. You know what? So I'll have to make sure I cut this little part out and send it to Mr. Campea and say, We disagree. All right, folks, on that wonderful note, I think it is, bear with me. Let me just check our agenda one more time. Yeah, I think that's about it for now. Jim, if you can stick around for a bit, I'm going to take you off there for a brief moment, and I am going to say to everyone, thank you so much if you made it to the end. Really appreciate this, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please let us know what you think of this. It is a bit of an experiment for us, and I think it is time to cue the outro.
I've been in your